Have you ever noticed that in the world of politics, money and power always go hand in hand? That major decisions, wars, and international alliances aren't just about ideology, but about a highly strategic financial game. If you think the conflict between Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky is only about politics and war, you're missing the bigger picture. Behind the speeches and headlines, there's a chessboard where money, influence, and billion-dollar interests control the moves. And here's the shocking part. Those who understand this game can learn valuable lessons about wealth, strategy, and financial dominance. To truly understand what's happening, we need to look beyond the surface. We need to uncover who actually profits from these global crises. How leaders use influence to expand their financial empires. And most importantly, how these same strategies can be applied to your own journey to success. In this video, you'll discover the hidden financial forces behind the Trump-Zelensky conflict. How did Trump leverage his political position to multiply his fortune and solidify his financial empire? How did Zelensky go from being a comedian to a president at the center of the biggest geopolitical game in the world? Who really profits from the war in Ukraine? And how are billions being moved in this conflict? What secret elite strategies can you use to grow your financial power? What you're about to learn could change the way you see money, power, and influence forever. So stay until the end. Because this video will expose the financial secrets that run the world and how you can use them to your advantage. 1. How Trump used politics to multiply his fortune. When Donald Trump entered politics, many believed he was leaving behind his billionaire career to focus on government. But the truth is completely different. Trump never stopped being a financial strategist. He simply took his game to the next level. Before becoming president, Trump was already a real estate mogul, owning casinos, hotels, and luxury brands. But during and after his presidency, his wealth skyrocketed. Need proof? In 2016, before taking office, the Trump Organization was valued at around $3.1 billion. After leaving office, that number climbed to over $4 billion. How did that happen? Trump's first strategy was leveraging politics to enhance his personal brand. As the President of the United States, his name became even more valuable, turning into a financial asset. His hotels and golf resorts increased their prices, and bookings surged. Wealthy business leaders paid premium prices to stay at his properties, not just for the luxury, but for the status of being associated with the Trump brand. But his real masterstroke came after leaving the White House. Trump successfully transformed his political influence into a money-making machine. His speaking engagements and private events now generate millions at some exclusive investor and political conferences. Ticket prices can reach over $100,000 per person. On top of that, he launched his own social media platform, Truth Social, attracting billionaire investors and further increasing his net worth. Another key factor was how he handled investments. Despite facing numerous controversies, Trump understood how to turn crises into opportunities. During his presidency, he facilitated deals for major business allies' moves that indirectly benefited his own investments. So what's the big takeaway for you? Trump mastered something that few people realize. Influence equals money. The greater the perception of power and exclusivity, the more you can charge and attract high-level investors. And this doesn't just apply to billionaires. If you know how to build a strong personal brand and establish authority in your field, you too can turn your image into a financial asset. But what about Zelensky? How did a former comedian step into this high-stakes game and move billions? In the next section, we'll reveal his meteoric rise and the global financial impact of this conflict. Stay with me. 2. How Zelensky went from comedian to moving billions. If Donald Trump's story is impressive, Volodymyr Zelensky's rise is even more unexpected. Few could have predicted that an actor and comedian, famous for playing a president on TV, would actually become the leader of a nation in the middle of the biggest geopolitical conflict of the century. But what most people don't realize is that, beyond the war, Zelensky also became a key player in one of the largest financial games in the world. His government has managed hundreds of billions of dollars in international aid, investments, and military contracts. And the question that few dare to ask is, who is really profiting from this? The power of image and marketing. Before stepping into politics, Zelensky was already a master of communication. As an actor, he understood the power of narrative and public image. The moment he took office, he used this skill to build his brand as a strong, determined leader who stands with the people. But when the war began, this strategy reached a whole new level. Zelensky became a global icon, delivering speeches to world governments, major conferences, and even Hollywood award shows. His goal? To secure massive financial support from other nations. And he succeeded. The US alone has sent over $75 billion to Ukraine since the start of the war. On top of that, European Union countries and the G7 have contributed billions more. But here's the real question. Where exactly is all that money going? The billion-dollar money game. When we talk about billions in aid, not all of that money is going directly to food and weapons. A large portion goes into defense contracts, reconstruction projects, and private companies that benefit from war. Military giants like Lockheed Martin and Raytheon have seen their stock prices soar since the conflict began. In 2022 alone, Lockheed Martin's market value increased by over $30 billion, thanks to rising arms sales to countries now fearing external threats. And here's the most interesting part. Many politicians and investors hold shares in these companies. In other words, the longer the war lasts, the more money they make. Zelensky also knows that after the war, rebuilding Ukraine will be a billion-dollar business. Infrastructure and tech companies are already negotiating contracts to reconstruct cities and energy systems. This means that the billions entering Ukraine now will multiply even further in the future. What can you learn from this? What Zelensky did is something that anyone can learn to apply. He leveraged his personal brand and storytelling to attract massive investments and build global influence. If you want to grow financially, you need to understand that money always follows influence. The more authority and credibility you build, the more opportunities open up, whether in business, investments, or life-changing deals. Now, who is really in control of this game? In the next section, we'll uncover the real winners of this conflict and the lessons you can apply to build your own wealth. 3. Who are the real winners in this game? Now that we understand how Trump used politics to multiply his fortune and how Zelensky became a global figure, moving billions, the big question is, who is really making money from this conflict? Many people believe wars are purely ideological battles. But the truth is that wars are, above all, a billion-dollar business. And just like in any major financial game, there are those who profit massively while the rest of the world is distracted by the headlines, the giants of the defense industry. Defense companies like Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, and Northrop Grumman have seen record-breaking revenue increases since the war in Ukraine began. This is no coincidence. Governments around the world, fearing for their security, have drastically increased their military spending. A clear example: as soon as the conflict started, Lockheed Martin's stock price soared by over 40% in just a few months, adding billions to the company's market value. Now, European countries are signing long-term contracts to strengthen their defenses, and these companies keep profiting. The banks and investment funds, another group that always wins in times of crisis. Banks and investment funds, institutions like BlackRock and Vanguard, which hold shares in nearly all major corporations worldwide, saw their defense and reconstruction investments skyrocket. And guess what? BlackRock has already signed a billion-dollar deal to manage Ukraine's post-war reconstruction. This means that even while the war continues, they've already secured their share of future profits. The politicians and their strategic connections. Many politicians have direct or indirect financial ties to companies that benefit from war, whether through investments, contracts, or campaign donations. There is a financial cycle that makes war a profitable business for certain groups. And here's the key insight: the wealthiest and most powerful people in the world don't just anticipate crises, they use them as opportunities to gain more money and power. What does this mean for you? If there's one clear lesson from this game, it's that those who understand the flow of money can benefit from any economic scenario. Influence and personal branding attract wealth. Trump and Zelensky are prime examples. Crises are opportunities for those who are prepared. While many lose, strategists find ways to profit. Money always follows power. Governments, corporations, and investors always protect their financial interests. The question is, are you on the side that understands the game, or are you just watching from the sidelines? Conclusion: the wealth game is happening now. What happens behind the scenes of power may seem distant, but the same strategies used by billionaires and world leaders can be applied to your life. If you want to build wealth, multiply your income, and establish influence, you need to understand how money truly moves in the world. And now that you know the financial secrets behind the Trump-Zelensky conflict, the only question left is, how will you use this knowledge to your advantage? Leave a comment, share this video, and subscribe to the channel for more insights into the secrets of wealth and power.